Who are you and why are you in my house? That's what I shouted, standing there in my own bedroom, staring at a total stranger who was get this live streaming from my late wife's cabin. She didn't flinch. She just looked up, all calm and businesslike, and told me she was some kind of property security educator and had actually been living in my home for the past 2 weeks. Then, with a perfectly straight face, she accused me of trespassing on my own land. Yeah, that happened. And when the cops showed up, they actually seemed to believe her. I know what you're thinking, no way, right? Stick with me, because it gets worse. I just stood there, completely floored. 3 months ago, my life flipped upside down in ways you really can't imagine. Picture this. You come back early from a business trip, hoping for a quiet weekend at the cabin where you and your wife built your memories, where you thought you might actually start to heal. Instead, you walk straight into a nightmare. My name's Tim Scott. I'm 45, and what I'm about to tell you will make you question everything you know about trust, loss, and just how far people will go for a buck. See, this place, this Colorado cabin was sacred. I proposed to Becky here. We laughed here, cried here, made a life here. After she died of a heart attack 8 months back, it became my sanctuary. I'd inherited it from my grandfather, and in my grief, it was the only place that felt safe. Every morning, out of habit, I'd still set 2 coffee mugs. Sometimes, I'd talk to her photo like she might actually answer, because honestly, that ritual kept me hanging on. I'm an IT security consultant. I work remote, which means this cabin became my whole world. But that week, I'd been in Denver for a couple of weeks on a big project, feeling lonelier than usual. On a whim, I decided to come home early, hoping the mountain air and changing aspens might do me some good. I was wrong. The lights were on when I pulled up, which was weird. As I got closer, I heard a woman's voice inside auctioning off my wife's wedding ring. Not kidding. I fumbled my keys, pushed the door open, and there she was, blonde, maybe 50, in Becky's favorite black dress, holding up my wife's ring and streaming live to thousands of people. But the real punch in the gut? Becky's memorial corner, totally trashed. Her ashes were gone, photos on the floor, and some dude in a towel strolled out of my bedroom like he owned the place. I just lost it, started shouting, but the woman, Erin Campbell, just kept streaming, acting like I was the intruder. She flashed some fake-looking documents, spouted off about abandoned properties, and claimed the right to be there under some security education initiative. She had this weird confidence like what she was doing wasn't just legal, but noble. Then the cop, Torres, shows up filming himself, if you can believe it, and buys into her story. I showed him my license, my deed, tried to explain this was my wife's place, my home. But Erin kept spinning her tale for Torres and her followers, holding up fake, official documents, talking about security education, and warning people about leaving their homes unattended. Torres seemed more impressed by her follower count than the mountain of evidence that this was my house. Just when I thought I'd lost my grip, Madison Rivera walked in, owner of the local coffee shop, arms full of coffee, looking genuinely freaked out for me. She vouched for me, told Torres she'd known Becky, knew this was our home, and explained about Becky showing her where the spare key was when she got sick. For a moment, I thought I might finally catch a break. Madison's testimony mattered. Torres had Erin step outside, and while they talked, Madison helped me pick up Becky's photos, whispering, "We'll get through this together, okay?" It was the first real kindness I'd felt in months. But when Torres came back, he told me and Erin to work it out civilly. She packed up her streaming gear, that smug grin never leaving her face, and left with her so-called assistant. I was left numb, realizing Becky's ashes were gone. Madison helped me search, but it hit me I'd installed a security system with 7 cameras, one of them hidden inside the smoke detector. As we watched the footage, my stomach dropped. Erin had been living there with a parade of men, selling my wife's things, and on day 4, I watched her toss Becky's ashes into the dumpster like they were trash. Madison and I watched in horror as Erin auctioned off Becky's things online, holding up my wife's chipped honeymoon mug and her reading glasses as educational props. But then it got even sicker. Erin had listed Becky's bedroom actual bed where she died on vacation rental sites, calling it the Angel's Memory Room, pitching it as some sort of spiritual grief experience for $400 a night. The reviews were all fake, the bookings a front for her occupation, but she'd still pulled in thousands just from the scam. But the twist? Connor, my neighbor, got roped in. Turns out Aaron had hired him as a property appraiser, feeding him fake management company paperwork. He'd been taking photos of my place, documenting everything, thinking it was for insurance. But Madison noticed something. She'd visited my place 47 times in 8 months, and not just to check in on me. The timing of her visits was perfect, always after my hardest days, always when I was most vulnerable. I started looking closer at Madison, and one day I noticed she was wearing a Ringa gold band with a tiny diamond, just like Becky's engagement ring, the one that disappeared months before she died. I asked about it. She got cagey, said it was her grandmother's. But I knew better. Becky's ring had a hidden inscription, something only I would know. Madison refused to let me look at it, got flustered, and left in a hurry. Later, going through Becky's jewelry box, I confirmed it. The ring was gone, along with other pieces. If Madison had Becky's ring, then she'd been inside my house, inside our bedroom, while my wife was still alive and sick. That was a violation that's hard to put into words. I started testing Madison, feeding her fake stories about Becky's final weeks, and she played along, adding details about things that never happened. Then, Aaron came back, this time with a full production crew. Madison arrived, not as a friend, but as Aaron's co-host. They filmed together, teaching property security education, but what they were really teaching was how to prey on the grieving. Madison broke it down. How to exploit people in mourning, how to isolate them, how to make yourself indispensable until your victim is totally dependent on you. She described, on camera, the very techniques she'd used on me. That's when I knew Madison hadn't just helped Aaron, she'd masterminded the emotional manipulation from day one. The comfort, the coffee, the perfectly timed support, all of it had been calculated. Then I found the smoking gun, audio recordings Madison had made of Becky in her last weeks, coaching her to take supplements that interfered with her medication. Becky's death, which I thought was a tragic accident, turned out to be engineered to make me a more perfect victim for their scam. I spent days gathering evidence, hidden camera footage, recordings, financial records. I pretended I was taking Madison's advice to go on a grief retreat, but instead, I installed a whole new layer of undetectable surveillance in the cabin. I made a big show of leaving, then snuck back to watch from a distance as Madison, Aaron, Torres, and their crew celebrated with Becky's anniversary champagne, toasting to perfect psychological dependency protocols. They laughed about accelerating Becky's death, about their $400,000 haul from dozens of grieving families, about expanding nationwide. I recorded everything and edited it into a documentary, every confession, every scam, every dirty trick. Then I dropped it online, everywhere, at 3 a.m. Within hours, millions had seen it. Outraged viewers, other victims, news channels, even lawmakers jumped on the story. Hashtags trended, protests erupted, and within days, Madison and Aaron were arrested, Torres was suspended, and federal investigators tore their whole network apart. But the justice wasn't just legal. My neighbors came together, restored the cabin, recovered Becky's ashes from the landfill, and built a memorial garden not just for Becky, but for every victim. Laws changed, protections for grieving families were strengthened, and the case led to nationwide reform. Even the financial restitution was enough to support organizations fighting elder abuse and predatory scams. 6 months after their convictions, just as I started to breathe again, I got a call from Arizona. Military families were being targeted by a copycat crew using the same techniques. The detective found Becky's medical records in their files. So now I'm left with a choice: chase the truth down another rabbit hole, or finally try to heal. You tell Ms. Hold I dig deeper, or are some truths better left buried? Drop your thoughts below. Who gets to decide when a story is really over? If this one shocked you, share it, comment, tell me where you're watching from, and most of all, watch out for the ones who call themselves helpers, because sometimes the real threat is the one bringing coffee to your door.